Welcome to GreyWolf's Den. I'm Deadly.
I'm Flick.
And today we are bringing you our first video podcast, Mysteries of the Den. We'll be investigating haunted, mysteries, paranormal, unknown, and unsolved. And for our first episode, we're going to be doing Stuckey's Bridge.
Really? I've been there.
I know you have. Tell me about it. Let me know. So what you see? What happened?
Well, first things first, headed towards Stuckey Bridge, you have to go this long gravel road, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you'll pass this lonely church. And then after that, the gravel will turn into this dirt road. And that's, for me, was like the creepiest thing.
The dirt road?
Yes, there was nothing but trees on either side. There's nothing in sight.
That sounds like Mississippi.
Oh my goodness. But once you finally actually get to the bridge, there's two blockage on either side of the bridge where no vehicle can go in and out.
That's right. They blocked it off because that is an old bridge.
It really is. It has a lot of holes in the bridge, so it's like for safety reasons, cars can go through there, but somehow people can. And honestly, it's like there was a moment there that when I was out there, it was Panicky and I, and Panicky almost went through one of the holes. I had to catch him.
And you saved
Panicky. I did.
You know, you cannot let him live that down. In any game, when he's just like, oh, you killed me. It's like, I saved you in real life.
Right.
I saved you that one time.
Yeah, because we were just out there recording all the different, the scenery itself. And then, just to be honest, I was just playing around on the bridge. You know, jumping up and down.
It sounds like you.
But you can hear, the creepiness of the bars, the metal on top.
Like the moaning and groaning of
yes, it was just freaky.
I can't.
I thought the bridge was I'm just going to fall off the bridge.
Well, it was either you were going to fall off the bridge, or the bridge was just going to freaking break.
Right, and the bridge wasn't even that big, though. It was only 112 feet long, but it was still creepy.
I can't deal with it.
But you know what? They built that bridge so people can actually, back in those days, bring in goods in and out from the southwestern part to in and out of Meridian a lot.
That's right, because that was a railroad town. Back then it was.
It was. And a lot of people travel through there. And of course, they say that there was a legend of Old Man Stuckey who used to lure people in with his lantern.
Which I think, honestly, for any scary anything, a lantern to lure people in. It doesn't sound scary to me.
I feel like it's just showing a nice southern hospitality. It's like, hey, welcome.
Hey y'all.
Well, be careful, there's a river there.
Look, I'll help you. I have an inn. I got warm food. I got a nice warm bed you can stay in. No worries, I just want money.
Yeah, but Stuckey had a whole evil alternative side to him going on. Which that's why his name's on that bridge still.
The bridge carries his name.
They really do, because nobody knows the original name for the bridge except for it's called Old Stuckey Bridge.
Look, they probably just named it Chunky Bridge. Over the Chunky River, we got the Chunky Bridge. And then they were like, well, something happened here, so Stuckey.
Well, according to legend, he was part of the Dalton gang. Ooh. I know. Eventually, he was caught doing bad things, and he died.
Dang. So, one second, rewind. So, he was part of a gang.
Yes.
Most gangs back then, if you were going to get out, you had to die. They were not going to just let you walk away and be like, oh, I'm out, you guys. See you later. It was more just oh, you want to leave? There's only one way to go out.
Well, that's not true. There's always a retirement. Gangs still have retirements. If you get to a certain age, you can just go ahead and have somebody else take your place.
You just brought on an apprentice and had them do that stuff for you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe it was a retirement plan. That sounds so weird for the 1800s. 1830s retirement plan. Yeah. But, okay, so either way, he left the gang.
Right.
And he decided with his newly found free time, he's going to build an inn at the edge of the Chunky River.
That's correct.
So he was there. I guess he was a greeter back then. He was like, hey, you guys, I got food, got this, got that. Come stay with me. You'll have a nice, safe place to stay. And you'll be okay for the night. And then it was goodness, 1830s.
Right.
So he had probably like the perfect area. Because he's
really
getting all the people floating down the river, all the people trying to cross the river to get to the trading post and all that.
Until they actually started on the bridge itself. And that was about like 1850, where when they were building the bridge is when the workers actually started finding these dead bodies along the riverbanks.
You know, he had to be scared and excited for this. It was like a double-edged sword. So literally he's just like, oh, new people, I'm gonna make all the money. And then he's like, oh wait, those old people, I buried them right by the river. And they're digging up to put these places, I guess it's like old cement blocks, I don't know what they call them, to build a bridge. So they're gonna have to dig up right in front of my building where I put all these bodies.
I believe that apparently the original bridge was actually just a wood bridge.
Like a flat plate bridge.
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, though, because they didn't need to be, like, extra fancy. There was no need for it.
But according to the locals and the legend, though, it's like when they started building the bridge, that's when they started finding the bodies.
Yeah.
So when they found the bodies, the sheriff and the town people, they all just looked towards Stuckey to blame.
I mean, that would make sense, though. Because back then, like, your neighbors were not close to you. They would be miles and miles away, so there's only one person in this certain area, and all of a sudden, dead bodies are being found.
That is true.
And then,
by your end.
My thing was, I guess because they were still, like, people were crossing the bridge as they were constructing it. It was just, like, sturdy enough that they could get across.
Right.
So Stuckey would literally, as they're building this bridge, I'm assuming he knows, like, something, eventually they're going to find somebody. They're going to find a body. But he's still not leaving the area. He's continuing to do what he does.
Not at all.
He's going across with his little lantern, being like, "Hey y'all, I got a nice place for y'all to stay."
That's not creepy at all.
No, like maybe Stuckey, he had that Norman Bates thing going on. Like he was just like, "Yeah, really I know something. I know I'm not doing something right, but is it wrong? Because I get all these things from it. He got the cotton, he got the goods, he got this, he got that, and he's just like." If they find out, they find out.
Well, that's true, too. They did find out. The sheriff decided to go ahead and get this whole posse and go out to the wilderness to look for him.
I said, neighbors were not close.
Not at all. And they did eventually found him.
Yeah.
And when they did, they had this whole, court.
Kangaroo court. Is what they said.
Right.
Just basically saying they were jumping to conclusions. They're like, you were in this area? No one else lives here? You must have killed these people.
Makes sense.
Yeah, 2 and 2 makes 4. Like,
well, the trial didn't work out for his favor at all.
No.
Unfortunately, his ruling was
guilty. Because they found all the missing people on his land, and there were from what we saw, there was 20 missing people.
Correct.
20 people go missing. Eventually, someone's gonna get suspicious. They're gonna start looking. But my thing was, once they did accuse him of being guilty. Well, not accuse him. They came up with the verdict of him being guilty and everything. They went on and hung him from
the trellis.
Yeah, no, the trellises weren't there yet.
Oh, that's true.
They hung him from the bridge, more than likely the side or the bottom or whatever. But in the middle of the Mississippi heat, humid,
in the
hot,
summer, man.
Literally, even now. Mississippi heat feels like you're walking through soup. It's just terrible. They had him hanging there for 5 days.
Imagine the smell on that, though. Ugh.
I couldn't imagine the smell, the look, anything. I'm sure the alligators were excited, though. They're like, ooh, eventually that falls. Because someone went in there and cut the rope. They were just like, okay, there's enough of this. Bye.
That's funny, though, when he said that, when eventually someone did cut the rope, though, after 5 days. And then they were saying that if you cross the bridge during the night or stayed the night by the riverbanks, that you can see this figure hanging on the bridge.
Yeah, and sometimes, what was it? Sometimes you'll see the light in the water. Yes. I'm assuming it's supposed to be like his lantern, but you can see the light in the water.
Or walking across the riverbank, the light is.
Yeah.
And then also you'll hear the splash, and the splash supposed to represent his body actually hitting the river.
I'm just saying, it's Mississippi. It could be a catfish. It could be Stuckey. Don't get me wrong, it could be Stuckey. He could be mimicking his death or whatever, but at the same time, it is Mississippi. It could be a freaking fish.
True, but just to be honest, being on the bridge and looking down the river, you'll see how fast the current was going. So it would be crazy.
His body wouldn't have sat there.
No, his body would have just went right down the river.
If it was bloated enough. You know what? No, we're not gonna get stuck on this.
You got details.
We're not gonna get stuck on this.
You know,
I've seen too many scary movies.
But there's the most believable, or the more believable story, shall I say, is from the Ellen Fairlin and J.T. Dawson.
Ellen Fairley. J.T. Dawson.
Right.
Yeah. Path to the Past.
That's
right?
correct.
All
Which
right.
is actually in the archive in Lauderdale County.
Yeah.
So you can just check out the archives there.
Check out the archives.
If you decide to go visit Lauderdale County.
If you decide to. At your own risk. We are not taking responsibility for that.
No, but it's crazy though, because you got the original bridge that he was hung by, then the new bridge was built on top of that. And it was like 1901.
Yeah, and that's the bridge you went on, the Truss Bridge.
Right. Oh, the truss. Is it truss?
It's truss.
It's truss.
Truss. You want to say trellis,
Truss.
don't you?
I do. I really do. I don't know why I do.
No, it's a Truss Bridge. And that's the thing, though, like, so they say that he still haunts it, but they say it's because he had the same fate as his victim. He ended up being murdered. He ended up getting thrown into the river, and that's why that's one theory. That's one legend.
That he's angry about that, which is, it throws me off as though it's like he either A, laid the victims out to the river or just buried them by the river banks.
Yeah, because there's two different theories.
But he just got hung and then the rope got cut off, so his body should have been dragged somewhere else. But he was still mad about that.
Yeah, he was like, why did I get thrown in the water?
It was the same spot where he decided to dump his bodies at.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like, I guess, because there's so many different legends, you get mixed reviews from the graffiti, too. Because I know, there was some, it was Stuckey for president. Of course, hopefully they're joking. Hopefully.
If not, there's one that says save the bridge. It's probably why the bridge is still there.
But then there's other ones that are a little more creepy. It's like, Stuckey's watching.
Watch it from above.
But then you also have, so I guess there's multiple sides. Because there's also people that are saying, I went over there and I felt a tug on my shirt. Someone pulled me from the bridge. And I'm just like... So now...
But it could happen, though. It's if you feel like a president or a president of some type of,
an entity.
Right. A little tugging here and there, it's possible. Or unless, there's some folks said they got pulled into the river.
And this is the thing. I'm trying not to laugh. But it's a little funny to me. So, old man Stuckey, murdered. Got kicked out of a gang. I'm convinced he got kicked out. That's not fact. But he got kicked out of a gang. Murdered, got caught, got killed, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go pull a guy off the bridge.
That's funny.
It just blows my mind. I'm not
unless
saying
if it's really
impossible.
him, though. Just to be honest, it could be the victim himself still lost in the river.
Sure, right.
They don't want the other people, innocent people, being the same fate.
To have the same.
Right.
Goodness.
So they saved them, so they don't have to live an eternity with Stuckey.
They're like, don't be like me. Goodness. So now that we've told you a little bit about our personal experiences and what we've been able to kind of research about Stuckey's Bridge, we gotta ruin it just a little bit.
Just a little bit, though.
We're gonna debunk it. At least part of it. We do have to say, of course, it was a little back in history. So there was no articles that truly had anybody's information on it. The sheriff and the victims that were involved, there's nothing with their names. And it's hard to find anything with their names on it.
True.
Even when it came to the census, there were people.
There were people back then, though.
Yeah.
With the last name Stuckey.
Yeah. But there's no proof that it was his family.
Or, you never know. It could have been one
related.
of them. I mean... the story could line up true, but it couldn't at the same time, just depending on the circumstances.
Honestly, if you were related to a serial killer from the 1800s...
In Mississippi.
Would you want to tell everybody you were related to a serial killer from the 1800s? Especially back then.
The what's crazy part for me is the fact that the Daltons were between, 1889 and then 1892?
Yeah.
So... Of course, the Daltons were stopped by, in Kansas, robbing the town's bank.
Yeah.
So,
of all the places.
But that was 40 years.
40 years.
40 years.
Let's say it one more time. 40 years.
Right. 40 years. difference.
Yeah. So.
Because the oldest, Dalton, remember, was.
Yeah, the oldest born was born in 1861.
I believe.
Yeah, and that was after Stuckey was hung. So it's hard to try to say that Stuckey was part of that gang.
That's true.
Because he was already deceased. Unless they had a ghost in their gang that they kicked out.
Really?
I'm just saying.
That's hilarious.
Scooby-Doo. But, of course, we're not the only ones who have done research on this topic. We're not the only ones who have looked up Stuckey and done any type of information on it.
That's true. Stuckey Bridge was featured on air.
Mm-hmm. It was the paranormal series, Haunted Locations. It was the most terrifying places in America. Flick can tell you, it was apparently a little scary. And it was. And it was in 2018 they aired that one.
That's correct. And then you referred to Old Man Stuckey Bridge then.
Yeah, Old Man Stuckey's Bridge. See, his name is still carrying on. It's not going anywhere. Stuckey might not have left, but we're going to.
That's cute. That is cute.
Even though Stuckey hasn't left, we're going to. I hope you enjoyed your first Mystery at the Debs.
Stay tuned. We might have something released. Hopefully something released on October 31st.
Halloween, in case you weren't sure.
Wait, is it?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
With your Chucky shirt on. Okay. But y'all have a great day. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time, okay? Bye.